and I think I will start, like many other retreats, from the basics. So in our system, in Amrita Mandala practice system, you can find the link from the Facebook event. It's there now. So our Amrita Mandala practice system is a, how do you say, synthesis of a number of things. We mostly do tantric practice, but we do both Buddhist Tantra as well as Hindu Tantra. But the way I see it, I've spoken about this over the years. The way I see it is that what is now known as Buddhist tradition. Buddhism has a very specific way and very detailed way of explaining how the nature of mind is. So, Buddhism, Buddha Dharma that is now known as Buddhism, it speaks about our enlightened mind, our nature of mind, in a very specific way. So there's a lot of details there. While in other traditions, those details are missing. Let's put it this way. So I think that Buddhist tradition started with Shakyamuni Buddha. In our time, he was the one who started teaching Buddha Dharma, so about 2,500 years ago. Only 2,500 years ago. But the way I see it is that it's kind of my gut feeling or my intuition is that I think that Buddha Dharma was brought to humanity to try as an attempt to try to fix some basic problems that were there in the prevalent religions back then, and try to fix some things so that people would would have insight or experiences of this basic nature of ours. But then what happened is that I think that Buddha Dharma, or what is now known Buddhism, was brought to fix some problems in Hindu religion, or Hindu religion is actually a vast collection of different types of teachings. But to me it makes sense, if it isn't historically accurate, to me it makes sense that the way how self-based ignorance, samsaric confusion, is dealt with Buddha Dharma would fit perfectly with Hinduism back then and Hinduism right now, still today. And this applies to, if we look at any major religion, it applies. The same principle applies. I think what is fantastic with Buddha Dharma, even with really basic Buddhist teachings, is that it's very simple, it's straight to the point, and it makes sense. So I think that those very factors have also been why, like secular Buddhism or Theravada Buddhism, classical Buddhism, these basic teachings of Buddhism have spread so well in the Western world, because there's no there's no gods or deities or gurus or something like this. It's very basic. It's easy to understand and easy to apply. The theory is simple and it's easy to apply the theory. So I would recommend to you to read Buddhist classics, those very basic teachings of Buddha Dharma, to get a good understanding of Buddhist teachings. Not dogma, but what the practices are and what the basic view is. I speak about that, have spoken about it quite extensively, and of course, have led many sessions, guided practice sessions, given talks and so on about these basic principles. But I always recommend my students to read books, and if you have a chance, to go and study and practice also with other teachers, because it makes you educated. And this is, it's good to be educated. Not only that like one expression or one explanation of Dharma, for example mine, but that you have a little bit broader understanding what Dharma is and what yogic practice is and what yogic realization is. It's good to hear other expressions also, other interpretations. So I started by saying that in Amrita Mandala we mainly practice tantric practice, which means that there is always an element of transmission at play or involved. It means that, when I teach, when tantric teachers teach, there's always an element of transmission. Not only verbally, but also energetically. And of course, the whole tantric method is based on empowerments, which are special occasions where the student is empowered yogically, tantrically. It's kind of like activating the basic nature or Buddha nature or awakened nature of the student. And then the student, after the empowerment, can practice, can exercise recognizing that basic nature, be it in the form of guru yoga, where you turn to a guru figure and ask and receive blessings, or can be in the form of deity yoga, when you do a mantra of a deity, and then through that deity, when you become the deity, when you become this archetype of the enlightened mind, then you little by little begin to know yourself. So I already said a bunch of things there, like deities and gurus and such, and a few minutes ago I said that I think it's been easy to make secular Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism, Vipassana meditation, for example, popular in the West, because there aren't gurus and deities and such. But our method is tantric, so we use all these tantric practices and technologies. Why? Why do we practice? What is the purpose of tantric practice, dharma practice? Where are we going with what we are doing here? Do you know? So mm, it is not really my analysis or my criticism alone, but it has been said by many tantric masters throughout the centuries that you can only become a Buddha, enlightened, completely free through Tantra. Maybe, this has definitely been said by many, many masters from different tantric lineages. Um, I would say that it is probably 99% correct. I have also met personally, physically, a Japanese Zen master. Zen Buddhism is a non-tantric lineage. I have met a Zen master who has now already passed several years ago, who was a Mahasiddha, who was a Buddha. So there are exceptions to the rule, but they are rare exceptions. And I think because of this point is exactly why different tantric masters have said that, if you want to become a Buddha, you need to find a tantric guru. What does it mean to become a Buddha? What does it mean when somebody is a greatly attained yogi or yogini? We have a term for that, greatly attained practitioner, Mahasiddha. Mahasiddha, great, literally great perfected master, male or female. What does it mean? Well, it is very easy to answer that question by thinking, what does it mean to be a samsaric being? What does it mean to be ignorant or deluded in the context of existence? So, samsara means going around in circles. And samsaric mind, as you know, is marked by the sense of me, I, self, small self. And as you know, when we have 0 bhumis open, when we haven't yet had any permanent insight into our basic nature, we cannot help to think, in terms of me and other all the time. Or a lot of the time at least. Isn't that true? And also, throughout the whole journey, throughout the whole path of practice, of purification, of transformation, there is this same sense of self, same sense of I, me, mine. It doesn't stay exactly the same, but the smell, the flavor, the energetic feeling of it remains exactly the same. It is, we can say that, when we are working with the first few bhumis, we are working to open the first few bhumis. Then it's like working with small rocks. Then we get a little bit farther. We might be working with the next few ones. It's like working with smaller rocks. Then again further, it's like working with sand. And then again further, it's finer sand. And finer. And finally, sand dust. And then finally, even more finally, this has 2 finals. So even finer dust. So there is it's all the same dust, it's all the same self, but it goes from gross to subtle, subtler, subtler, and subtlemost. But it's still the same sand. It's still the same I, me, mine. It's still the same contraction. It's still the same tightness in the heart. It's still the same, contracting of the stomach muscles. Your stomach going loose, getting scared, distracted, fearful. And it's all based on this notion of me. So, don't we all know that, don't we all know well that because of this, we can't help it as samsaric beings. It just comes, this sense of me. And shit, it's there and I don't know what to do with it. You don't even know, I remember those times when I wasn't a practitioner yet, and sometimes I felt great at times, but so many times on daily basis I felt like shit, and I didn't really know what was wrong with me. I didn't understand why life didn't feel good. I didn't understand what was wrong. Can you relate to this? And so this discontentment is exactly what samsara is. It makes us feel that something is off. There is something wrong with me. There is something wrong with how I think, how I feel, what is going around me. Somehow it just doesn't work. So, day and night, we have these self-based reactions. And even when we so desperately wanted to get a good night's sleep, the older you grow, and the older you grow, the less you get good sleep. But even it gets even worse with the more samsaric programs you have going on in your mind. That's definitely true. You can ask anybody. But same, we can see it in people, in non-practitioners, and I don't mean to say this as like discriminating people to practitioners and non-practitioners. I'm simply making like a observation that isn't it that we can see from the faces of people who don't practice this that you can see this stress. You can see this, how rigid it gets, how hard, like hardened, calcified. Even bodies, physically over time get stiff, hardened, calcified. All because of this I, me, mine. And then all the emotional reactions based on that I thought. So that's the working ground. That sense of I-ness, me-ness, mine-ness, that's the path. But I gave that short description of samsaric mind because I'm gonna, how do you say, describe the Buddha mind. Imagine Now that I described all the self-based stuff, imagine if you didn't have any of that. None of that. How would your daily life be, for example today, from the moment you woke up, if you didn't have any of that? No contraction. Instead of being contracted, just being open and fresh and naturally relaxed. Being without that tension in the chest, being without tension in the gut, just sober. Can you imagine a little bit? Can you? What Buddha Dharma teaches is that which is a really necessary and excellent point, because one of the problems with Buddhism's bigger sibling Hinduism is that often in texts that are considered classics of Hinduism, it is said that you need to be in a thoughtless state to be in the enlightened state. But this is false. This is completely false. I have tested it myself. I have done thousands of hours of samadhi practice, spent thousands of hours in samadhi states without thoughts, and then learned, finally, just like Shakyamuni did, that when you stand up, the thoughts come back, and then you're back with the same thoughts as you were before those 5,000 hours or 10,000 hours of samadhi practice. So, damn, it didn't solve my issues. It might be good from the point of view of taking rest, taking break, but sooner or later you have to deal, you have to, sooner or later, it might be an hour of samadhi practice, it might be 1,000 years of being in samadhi state. But sooner or later that state, that thoughtless state, will come to an end, and there will be thoughts in the mind. You cannot avoid it. We cannot avoid it. We cannot erase the formation of thoughts in our mind. Maybe if we did some kind of a lobotomy, but that's not Dharma. So that's not yogic practice. So what I was saying is that Buddhism, Buddha Dharma, makes a very important and necessary point that thoughts are not the problem. Whether you are thoughtless or there are thoughts, through the application of yogic practice, practice of Buddha Dharma, you will realize that both the mind without movement and the mind in movement are the same. When I say without movement and with movement, I mean that, we can be in that thoughtless state. It might last for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, however long. That thoughtless state and then thought-based state, when we have a thought in the mind or emotional state in the mind, that these two are the same. We can realize that these two are the same. How? It doesn't make sense. Like, if this is a new idea, it doesn't make sense, obviously. But here comes the important point of Buddha Dharma that was, in my view, brought to fix Hindu Dharma. Because that's exactly what was wrong with Hindu Dharma back then and still today. And the important point is that in Buddha Dharma we always look, we always search, we always try to, detect these self-based, me, I, self, mine. We always try to detect that smell, that flavor, that feel. We always try to become aware of it. And by becoming aware that this samsaric stuff keeps going around in our minds, when we become aware of it, we interrupt. And when we become aware in whatever moment, in whatever situation, whatever reaction we are having, we not only stop that circular existence, but we can become free of it. We can, through that self-based reaction, that self-based thought, emotion, ideation, we can, by becoming aware of it, we can see our true nature, which is without this self-based contraction, without the thought of me, I. So the simplest practice of Buddha Dharma is to keep looking at our mind and keep interrupting that, that wheel, self-based wheel that goes around automatically, and keep interrupting it with our attention, becoming aware again and again and again of this self-based stuff, and finding that, for example, if we are jealous, is jealous the right word? For example, if my neighbor buys a new boat or a new car, I get jealous. So, shit, my neighbor has a new boat and I don't have money for it. So that emotional reaction has me, I, self right in the middle of it. And if we are practitioners, we aim to become aware of it, so that we can get liberated from it, liberated from this contraction, self-based contraction. So at simplest, this is Buddha Dharma. And what happens is that when you do practice this analytical meditation, it's called vipassana. Vipassana is it's a yogic general term. It has been taken as a name of Vipassana retreats, but it's a classical word of Sanskrit language, which means supreme seeing. Supreme seeing. So this is the most basic form of Vipassana. And what happens when you gradually liberate your mind from those self-centered habit patterns is that you start having more and more thoughts where there is no self. Thoughts come, stay, and disappear as selfless. Such a thought is an expression of our basic state, expression of our true nature. Pure thoughts, you can say. Not pure like never, the content of thoughts doesn't matter. You can think of, you can think of anything. You can think of let's for a good simple example, you can think of sexual things and be completely in the selfless state. Whatever type of sexual things. So when I say pure, it means that it's selfless. I don't say that, if you think of sex, it is automatically impure. That is completely wrong interpretation. So according to Buddha Dharma, according to, how should I say, according to awakened mind itself, the content doesn't matter and never matters. This is a very important point. I know, I'm sure many of you, maybe not all of you, but many of you can relate to when I say that, especially when I was younger, I had very dark and weird thoughts. Not really scary, I wouldn't say that thoughts scared me, but definitely weird and strange. Sometimes very nasty, like violent scenes, stuff like this. And I'm not saying that I was planning, like putting my intention and planning something violent or wanting to do something violent. It's just something that happened in my mind. And I know there are many people experiencing the same. People have dark thoughts, strange thoughts, weird thoughts that, of course there is the question of, psychological illness and mental illness and so on, but I think that if there is some, unfortunately, some like something missing in understanding thoughts, because I think that many young people are scared of speaking about their dark thoughts to their parents or maybe school teachers or priests or psychologists or whoever, because even specialists often don't really, if you have really dark thoughts, they might not really understand. They might, they might not understand that they are just thoughts that many people have. Many people have. Why? Because our subconscious mind is the short answer. The human mind Here I'm talking exactly about the energy system and the chakras, the energy system of human beings. The human mind is very complex, very complex. And why I say that is that in Buddhism there is a traditional explanation of 6 realms. 6 realms of hungry ghosts, demons, animals. Those are the 3 lower realms. Then humans, demigods, and gods. 6 basic realms. And then there are sub-realms, many sub-realms. But I started by mentioning demons and hungry ghosts and animals. We have, don't be scared, I will explain this in a moment. I'm not talking about demons like you have seen in horror films. I'm talking about demons like it is discussed in Buddha Dharma. But we have, samsaric beings have demons inside us. And we have hungry ghosts. Don't either be scared by the word ghost. And we have animalistic, animal features as well. What do I mean by that? Demons, hungry ghosts, and animal drives. And what do I mean by saying that there is that we have a very wide psychological range? All those 6 realms are in us, in our system. And this is a unique feature of the human body and the human mind. It's kind of beautiful when you start thinking about it. When you meditate a lot, you can see your own energy body and you can see the vast scope of it. You can see it. You can verify that and anything that I say yourself. But you need to practice to have these visions. So demons, what it means, well, if we look at the humankind, we can definitely see that there has been and there is people who want to harm others. There are individuals and groups who want to exploit and harm, kill, murder others. And each one of us has that same, how should I say, possibility in us. It's not a very, if somebody's thinking of career choices, that's not probably, a very good one. Oh, I start killing and murdering people and exploiting people. So don't get me wrong when I say that it's a possibility. What I'm saying is that we have, what is the word? Like we have the capacity of such actions. If we, let's say, if we have certain kind of conditioning, we grow up in, I don't know, like strange political or cult environment, we might think that exploiting and killing and murdering is okay. We might grow up in circumstances that grow us up to become these demons that hurt others. So there are demons outside us, but how, like outside us in other human beings. But in Dharma practice, we always want to detect this if we have such very strong hatred or anger or maybe even thoughts of wanting to harm others. Our job is to find that sense of self from those thoughts and weed out those demonic, demonic sense of self. The next one is hungry ghosts. Hungry ghosts, which translates as addictive behavior, needing a fix, to be able to deal with life. Drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, food, and so on. Needing a fix. I feel scared and I feel anxious and I need something to alleviate my anxiousness. And then you get a drink a bottle of hard liquor, and for a moment you don't have that problem. Hungry ghosts. There is, like in classical Dharma art, hungry ghosts are often depicted as having a big belly, but having a very small mouth and very thin throat. So, very small mouth and throat, but big belly. Do you understand? So, addictive behavior. Second one of the three lower realms. A mild expression of kind of being in, well, if we are very strict about what is addictive behavior and what isn't, maybe you can't really say that when we were young, like in our 20s or teenage years or so, that partying would be addictive behavior. But I can definitely say of my own behalf that when I was a teenager and I was drinking a lot, I was drinking exactly because I wanted out from that feeling that something in life is fundamentally wrong. And I got to the point with my drinking when it wasn't fun anymore. There are three stages of addiction, which is with substance abuse, which are that in the first stage you enjoy it. You use some drugs or drink or watch porn or whatever it is, and you enjoy it. Second one is when it stops. You stop. The kick gets less. So you start. You don't. There are some negative features that come along. It's not always fun, and when you continue, it gets heavier and heavier, and less satisfying. And the third phase is when it's only negative effects, no enjoyment. So I got to the second one, didn't get to the third one. But my point is that, as sometimes in milder forms we have like, oh, it's Friday evening and I've been working for a week and I want my bar of chocolate. I need my 6 beers. Or whatever. So, like a little fix, something. And this is not dangerous. I'm just explaining, how the mind works, and that we have the capacity to become a hungry ghost, an addict. We all do. And then the third one, animal realms. Animals are very simple. Well, there are different psychologies that different animals have that, but it's mostly get food or searching for food, sleep, and procreate. Don't we all have those three? You know, somebody might think that the best type of day or a best type of holiday is when you get just the most delicious hamburgers or foods or steaks with a milkshake or some ice cream dessert, and then take a rest and then get laid before you eat again. Right? There is actually no problem with that from the point of view of tantric practice, but isn't it exactly what animals are doing on daily basis? So this is why, you know, in many sources they speak of these lower desires, being stuck in animal drives, animalistic desires. So I said that none of that is a problem if we have the basic view. And the basic view of transformative paths, meaning tantric paths, is that you can have any type of sense pleasure. You can spend 2 weeks on a holiday in Spain, eating a little bit too much in buffets, then just sleeping and getting laid, and partying in the night, drinking, maybe even doing some drugs. And you can do that for 2 weeks or a month and call it a tantric practice if throughout that 2 weeks you rest in the recognition of the basic state. So again, pure and impure. If we think that eating too much in buffets or sleeping during daytime and then fucking and partying and drinking and all that is impure, that is completely wrong. This is not tantric view. So all pleasures are fine if we live that experience, if we eat that buffet with the recognition. Then it becomes ambrosia, Amrita, nectar. When there is no self, no me, no I, that keeps coming, no problem. So just to wrap up, I was explaining the simplest application of awakening meditation, which is to look at the mind and interrupt its self-based programs. And this is, important to understand. This is called Sutra Vipassana. Sutra Vipassana. Sutra means, well, it doesn't really matter what it means in Sanskrit because it's not relevant, but it's Sutric Vipassana. Liberation via Sutric means. Then there is Tantric Vipassana. Tantric illumination, which means that you get that illumination and insight, those bhumi openings and bhumi perfections, gradual purification of mind, gradual, what is that word? Gradual asettua. A gradual settling into our basic state by chanting mantras. Mantras of the gurus, mantras of the deities, doing certain visualizations, doing certain mudras, doing certain breathing practices. So when sutra style practice is very simple, you just look at the mind and keep looking at it day and night, looking. The tantric method is based on empowerment, like I said. So you get an empowerment from your teacher, and the teacher gives you also a mantra or some visualization or some mudras or all of those practices as a way, as a practice how you can recognize and cultivate your enlightened nature. And then you cultivate it. Namo Guru Rinpoche, Namo Yeshe Tsogyalye, and so on. Different mantras or mantras of deities. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha, Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha, Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha, Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. And then when you do the practice, your bhumis start popping, your mind start opening, you start realizing the selfless state of mind. And that's how you arrive home. That's how you come to know yourself. And that's it. You just keep at it. You do the practices that you have been given as long as you are satisfied. As long as you're content. All right, let's sit a bit together. Pitäisikö pikkasen ikkuna aukaista? Jätäs keittiöikkuna pikkusen auki. Don't try to meditate. Just be with me. No meditation. Not even relaxing. Not doing anything. Not starting any projects. Don't start any projects. Don't start any type of doing. Oh, much better. Don't wait or expect anything special to happen. No expectation. And also don't, what I meant by saying that don't meditate is that don't have the want to have, how to say, don't seek for a special experience. If you do, you will end up in a place that will not make you satisfied. The thing is that our basic nature from the existential point of view fulfills our needs spiritually and psychologically, makes us complete. To our basic nature there is love, compassion, kindness, discrimination, dynamic action, decisive action, automatically. But the thing is that if we want to have a special meditative experience, let's say experience something heavenly, then we will not have that nourishing, spiritually and psychologically nourishing experience, recognition of the basic state. Just sit with me, you and me, over a coffee table, spending a moment together. enjoying a moment together without the need to converse, without the need to say anything. Without the need to meditate, without the need to solve any problems. And in this intimate presence of being together, there is something very fulfilling. That is always available to us because it is in us. Head becomes clear and sober. And it's also as if we become grounded. Maybe better is embodied. Not grounded like going into the ground, physical ground somehow, but becoming embodied, settling into the body. That's it. But there's also joy, isn't there? Subtle blissfulness, subtle sense of happiness in this basic state. Happiness that doesn't depend on getting fixes or having things in certain way. It's happiness, blissfulness that doesn't depend on circumstances. If it helps you, I will explain to you a simple practice. And it comes from the classical Buddhism, from Hinayana Theravada Buddhism. You might find it useful, or if you don't have need for it, then you don't have need for it. But let's do something. Let's wish happiness and joy to ourselves. So I'm gonna say simple phrases, simple well-wishing phrases, and you can repeat them. Or if you like, you can formulate them as you like. This is kind of like a therapy or healing to oneself. And it can be very useful up to a point. It can be medicine that heals, truly heals. So you can say to yourself, may I be happy. Wish it for yourself. May I be happy. May I be happy and joyful and loving and peaceful. May I, through happiness and joyfulness, and through peacefulness, be healed of physical and emotional pains. May I be filled with happiness, joyfulness, and healing energy. And take a moment to feel what we have generated. It is easy to feel that we have indeed generated something. We have made the energy move in our being, in our subtle body. And now we have an experience accordingly. Then you just soak in the energy, soak in the experience, soak your body, soak your whole being. You might find that the experience you're having is very welcome and needed, and that it feels just right. You might feel that this is exactly what you wanted. In that case, please keep doing this in your practice. Heal yourself, fill yourself with the thoughts, with the energy of happiness, joyfulness, peacefulness, contentment, just by wishing it for yourself. This is called metta meditation, Maitri meditation from classical Buddhism. So if you raise a question that how is this supposed to help to make me enlightened, how is this supposed to help me realize the selfless state or non-dualistic state, if you prefer that term, this is not a practice for solving that question, I would say. This is a healing practice, self-healing practice that is only meant for healing. Healing what? That is a good question. Healing the psyche, healing the mind, healing traumas, softening traumas, softening, healing basic stresses. And this is very important. And this healing, softening our habit patterns, softening our stresses, traumas, it makes us ready for higher practices. And you shouldn't think, when I said higher practices, don't think in terms of, well, higher, it sounds better, so I want to do higher. If you are honest to yourself and you notice that, oh, definitely this well-wishing to myself, it definitely does something that I need, then you need to do this exercise. Don't push it aside and then try to do something higher. We need to be smart and honest and sincere. This is also a way, metta meditation, Maitri meditation, is a way to, what is the word, alleviate, lessen dark nights, lessen rough periods in practice. Because it makes us softer. So then when we have suddenly the road becomes bumpy, we can adjust to that rough ride, that bumpiness of the road. We can relax into it a little bit better. In this way, we can say that practice such as metta, Maitri, it accumulates merit, accumulates readiness for higher practices such as tantric practice. it makes us more fit for tantric practice. So we did like couple of minutes of well-wishing for ourselves. So just to be clear, you can practice metta generating just like we did, and then sitting in it, enjoying it, soaking it, marinating in the experience for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then generating it again, and then again sitting. So a simple practice with a simple application. All right, let's take this one step further, a little bit towards Mahayana. And let's do the same well-wishing for other beings, other human beings, animals, life in other forms, physical and non-physical. So you can repeat these well-wishing phrases again. May all beings be happy. May all beings be joyful. May all beings find peace. May all beings be happy. May all beings be joyful. May all beings find peace. Observe what happens. What kind of energy is generated? We have again, with these simple prayers, made the energy move. How does it move now? How is may I be happy different to may all beings be happy? Do you notice that the energy moves differently? Even though it is still happy, joyful, peaceful, loaded with those qualities, it still feels a bit different. How? Why? If I had to describe my experience of the two types, I would say that the first one felt great, awesome, but it was kind of small. Maybe I would say limited or even restricted. It didn't exactly feel as natural or as open as the second one. The second one feels ah, like a true opening up, truly. It's like the first one feels like a joyfulness, blissfulness in small space, and the second one is limitless space. Classical vehicle metta, a great vehicle metta. And again, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. It all depends on what we need as practitioners. When we are still working to open the first bhumi or second bhumi, working with the first couple of awakenings, it is pointless to start talking about or trying to get the Mahasiddha bhumis open. It doesn't make sense because it goes in how to say, chronological order. Same thing. If you need to heal yourself with just practicing metta on your own behalf, this is what you need to do. In that case, practice 100 sessions, 200 sessions, 300 sessions. One session a day, at least 30 minutes in duration. And then after 100 days, 200, 300 days, you will have healed something. You will have become softer and more relaxed, definitely more embodied. Let's take one more third step in this little experiment of ours and express the basic motivation that we do in the practice of Amrita Mandala and also in Tantra, which is that you can repeat this after me. I want to attain full enlightenment. I want to attain Buddhahood. for the sake of all sentient beings. I want to attain full enlightenment. I want to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. And then feel the energy of that. Soak in it. Take it in. It's like a strike of lightning. And again, the energy is a little bit different, moves in a bit different way. It's similar as the former two, and yet subtly different. Can you notice that there is also in this version, there is healing energy in your body, in your system? Can you? You can nod or shake your head to answer me. I want to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. It's a thought that moves mountains. It's a thought that changes lives. That changes the karma of lifetimes. This thought is a compass that points the needle and sets our course to Buddhahood. This thought. There are no thoughts like it. And this also you can use as a practice. Reserve time, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour, and just return to it. Say it, release it, energy is generated and you soak in it. And then after soaking in it, generate it again. This is perfect practice. 100 sessions, 200, 300 sessions. And our self-based habits and patterns, me, I, mine, will also loosen. Attachments will become less, and our mind becomes more that of a Buddha that is in us already, yet is hidden from us. So regardless which one of the three, the first version, second or third, you use, the secret is to generate energy first, make energy move, and then soak in it. You relax your body in it. You take the energy into your body. You welcome the energy. You feel the energy with your heart. You also feel it inside the head. You feel it. You recognize the energy in your limbs. You surrender. You relax into that energy. And this energy is the energy of the Buddha. It heals. It makes life right from the existential point of view. It solves our existential issues. That thought, that energy that comes with the thought. A final practice tip that is very important. Whether you generate metta for yourself to all sentient beings, or you set your motivation to become Buddhas for the sake of others, and then you feel the energy. Try to absorb all of that energy into your system, so that not a drop goes to waste. relax, surrender in such a complete, thorough way. May this energy, these blessings, radiate out into the world to our loved ones, be they family members, be they our friends or relatives, be they our pets, be they our deceased friends or relatives. May the blessings shine out from each one of us to help others too, to help our friends. If you want, in your mind, you can go through your friends, relatives, family members. Think of their images, think of their names, one by one. Okay, I think that is enough for this evening. Carl, can you lead vows prayers?
Let's begin with the Bodhisattva vows. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. Relative refuge. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in his pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in his pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in his pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Absolute refuge. I am the Guru. I'm in the Pure Land. I am the Buddha. I am the Dharma. I am the Sangha. I am the Guru. I'm in the Pure Land. I am the Buddha. I am the Dharma. I am the Sangha. I am the Guru. I'm in the Pure Land. I am the Buddha. I am the Dharma. I am the Sangha. Relative to the citta. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. Absolute bodhicitta. All beings are free. All beings are free. All beings are free. All beings are free. And dedication of merit. May all beings receive my accumulated merit. I dedicate the merit to the refuge and to all sentient beings. Let's put our palms together and make a bow.
Thanks, Kalle. All right. And that's it for this evening. And tomorrow we continue at 3 p.m. local time. So local time would be the time zone of Finland. Just to inform those who didn't know that. Thank you for this evening. It was a lovely start for this weekend retreat. And have a good evening or day. See you tomorrow. All right. Bye now.